Have you ever wondered what lies at the deepest place on Earth? A place so deep that if Mount Everest were dropped into it, its peak would still remain more than a mile underwater. A place where sunlight has never reached, where the pressure is over 1,000 times greater than at sea level, and where every expedition has uncovered something that challenges what we thought we knew about our own planet. This is the Mariana Trench, Earth's deepest mystery revealed. The ocean covers more than 70% of our planet, yet scientists know far less about its deepest regions than they do about the surface of Mars. For centuries, sailors crossed the Pacific Ocean without realizing that beneath them was a crack in Earth's crust, unlike anything else on the planet. Hidden in the western Pacific Ocean, east of the Philippines and south of Japan, the Mariana Trench stretches for more than 1,500 miles. But what truly makes it extraordinary is not its length, it is its depth. At the very bottom lies a place called Challenger Deep, the deepest known point in Earth's oceans. It reaches nearly 7 miles below sea level. Down there, the pressure is so intense that it would instantly crush an ordinary submarine like an aluminum can. Temperatures hover just above freezing, and absolute darkness surrounds everything. Yet despite these impossible conditions, life exists. The existence of the Mariana Trench was not always known. In the late 19th century, scientists aboard research ships began lowering weighted ropes into the Pacific Ocean to measure its depth. They expected deep water, but nothing prepared them for the numbers they recorded. Their instruments revealed an underwater canyon far deeper than anyone imagined. Later expeditions confirmed the discovery, naming the deepest point Challenger Deep after the British research vessel HMS Challenger, whose crew conducted some of the earliest scientific studies of the world's oceans. For decades, however, no human could reach the bottom. Technology simply was not advanced enough. Scientists could only speculate about what existed in the darkness. Some believed the crushing pressure made life impossible. Others imagined giant unknown creatures hidden in the abyss. The trench became one of Earth's greatest scientific mysteries. Everything changed in 1960. Two explorers climbed inside a specially designed submersible called the Trieste. Unlike ordinary submarines, it was built with an incredibly strong steel sphere capable of surviving the immense pressure of the deep ocean. As they began their descent, sunlight slowly disappeared. Blue water turned dark. Then came complete blackness. Hour after hour, they continued sinking through silent water that no human had ever seen before. Finally, after nearly 5 hours, they reached the bottom of Challenger Deep. What they found surprised the scientific world. Instead of a barren wasteland, they observed signs that life existed even under these extreme conditions. Tiny creatures moved across the seafloor. Sediment covered the bottom like fine dust. Although visibility was limited, the discovery proved something extraordinary. Life could survive in places once believed to be completely uninhabitable. That single expedition changed marine science forever. Still, reaching the bottom remained incredibly difficult. For more than 50 years, almost nobody returned. The Mariana Trench continued to guard its secrets. Then, in the 21st century, a new generation of explorers arrived with technology that earlier scientists could only dream about. Advanced robotic vehicles, high-definition cameras, powerful sonar systems, and specially engineered submersibles allowed researchers to study the trench in greater detail than ever before. Each mission revealed something unexpected. Scientists discovered strange animals unlike anything found in shallow oceans. Transparent creatures drifted through the darkness. Tiny shrimp-like amphipods survived pressures that would destroy most living cells. Delicate sea cucumbers crawled slowly across the muddy floor. Giant single-celled organisms called xenophytophores covered sections of the seabed, proving that even microscopic life could thrive in one of the harshest environments on Earth. Perhaps the biggest surprise was not just that life existed, but that it had evolved remarkable ways to survive. Every creature living in the trench had adapted over millions of years to crushing pressure, freezing temperatures, and complete darkness. Without sunlight, there are no plants. Without plants, the familiar food chain disappears. Instead, life depends on organic material slowly drifting down from the surface, sometimes called marine snow. Tiny particles of dead organisms, waste, and microscopic debris sink for days or even weeks before finally reaching the trench floor. Every bit of this material becomes valuable food in an ecosystem where resources are incredibly scarce. Some organisms rely on highly efficient metabolisms that conserve energy. Others possess unique cell structures that prevent pressure from damaging their tissues. Scientists continue studying these remarkable adaptations because they may one day help us understand how life could survive on other worlds beneath icy oceans far beyond Earth. The Mariana Trench is no longer just an oceanographic curiosity. It has become a natural laboratory for studying biology, geology, chemistry, and even the possibility of extraterrestrial life. Yet every answer seems to create even more questions. How did these creatures evolve? What other species remain undiscovered? And if life can survive under such impossible conditions here on Earth, where else in the universe might it exist? As researchers pushed deeper into the trench with increasingly sophisticated equipment, they expected to uncover more extraordinary forms of life. Instead, they stumbled upon something they never expected to find at the deepest place on Earth: evidence that humanity had already reached the bottom long before many scientists did. The discovery shocked scientists for an entirely different reason than anyone expected. Alongside remarkable deep-sea creatures, researchers began finding unmistakable evidence of human activity. Plastic bags, food wrappers, fishing lines, synthetic fibers, and even microscopic pieces of plastic had somehow reached the deepest place on Earth. For decades, many people assumed the Mariana Trench was protected simply because it was so remote. Nearly 7 miles below the ocean's surface, it seemed impossible that pollution from cities thousands of miles away could ever reach it. But the ocean is connected in ways that are often invisible from the surface. Ocean currents carry floating debris across enormous distances. Over time, larger pieces of plastic break apart into tiny fragments known as microplastics. These particles become so small that they drift through the water column and eventually settle on the seafloor, even in the deepest parts of the ocean. When scientists analyzed samples collected from Challenger Deep, they found microplastics mixed into the sediment itself. Even some deep-sea animals had already consumed these particles, mistaking them for food. It was a sobering reminder that human influence now extends to nearly every corner of our planet. But pollution was only one surprise. As research expanded, scientists began uncovering an environment far more dynamic than they had imagined. The Mariana Trench is not a lifeless crack in the Earth's crust. It is part of an active geological system that is constantly changing. The trench formed because two enormous tectonic plates are slowly colliding. One plate is forced beneath the other in a process known as subduction. This movement happens incredibly slowly, only a few inches each year, but over millions of years it has created one of the deepest features on Earth. Far below the ocean floor, enormous forces generate earthquakes and fuel volcanic activity. Some of these volcanoes never rise above the ocean's surface. Instead, they remain hidden beneath miles of water, quietly shaping the landscape below. Using advanced sonar mapping, researchers discovered towering underwater cliffs, steep canyons, and mountain-like ridges scattered throughout the trench. What appears from above to be a single deep groove is actually an incredibly complex world filled with dramatic terrain. In some places, the walls descend almost vertically into darkness. Massive landslides occasionally reshape parts of the trench, while sediments slowly accumulate across the bottom over thousands of years. Every expedition adds new details to maps that remain surprisingly incomplete. The extreme environment also creates unusual chemical conditions. Water trapped deep beneath the Earth's crust can emerge through cracks, carrying minerals that support unique microbial communities. Scientists have identified bacteria capable of surviving without sunlight, relying instead on chemical reactions for energy. These organisms demonstrate that life does not always require the conditions we normally associate with habitability. That discovery has fascinated researchers studying the possibility of life elsewhere in the solar system. Moons such as Europa and Enceladus are believed to contain vast oceans hidden beneath thick layers of ice. If microorganisms can survive in the crushing darkness of the Mariana Trench using chemical energy alone, similar forms of life might exist in those distant oceans as well. In this way, every dive into Earth's deepest waters becomes a mission that also helps scientists understand worlds millions of miles away. One of the most famous modern expeditions took place in 2012 when filmmaker and explorer James Cameron completed a solo dive to Challenger Deep. Descending alone inside the deep-sea Challenger submersible, he spent hours exploring a landscape that very few human beings have ever witnessed firsthand. Cameron described the environment as silent, isolated, and almost otherworldly. Instead of colorful coral reefs or schools of fish, he found an endless plain of fine sediment stretching into complete darkness. It resembled an alien planet more than anything most people imagine beneath the sea. His mission collected valuable scientific samples, captured high-definition video, and demonstrated that modern technology could finally open the deepest parts of the ocean to more detailed research. Since then, several additional expeditions have continued exploring the trench using both crewed and robotic vehicles. Every mission has revealed species never seen before. Scientists have discovered snailfish living at astonishing depths, translucent creatures whose bodies are specially adapted to survive pressures that would destroy most vertebrates. They have identified amphipods carrying unique biological compounds that stabilize their cells under extreme pressure. Strange sea cucumbers glide slowly across the muddy floor, recycling organic material that sinks from above. Each new discovery reminds researchers how much remains unknown. In fact, experts estimate that a significant percentage of marine species have yet to be identified. The deepest ocean may contain thousands of organisms that science has never documented. The Mariana Trench is also changing our understanding of evolution itself. Instead of viewing extreme environments as barriers to life, scientists now recognize them as places where evolution produces extraordinary adaptations. Organisms isolated for millions of years often develop characteristics found nowhere else on Earth. These discoveries could eventually contribute to advances in medicine, biotechnology, and materials science. Some deep-sea microbes produce unusual enzymes that function under intense pressure and low temperatures, offering possibilities for future industrial and medical applications. Yet, despite decades of research, the trench continues to protect many of its greatest secrets. Large areas have never been directly observed. Countless caves, fractures, and hidden valleys remain unexplored. Every expedition covers only a tiny fraction of this enormous underwater world. The deeper scientists investigate, the more they realize that humanity has explored only a small portion of its own planet. And perhaps the greatest mystery is not what researchers have already found. It is what may still be waiting in the darkness, beyond the reach of every camera, every robot, and every human expedition that has ventured into Earth's deepest abyss. For all the discoveries made inside the Mariana Trench, scientists agree on one remarkable fact. We have explored only a tiny fraction of it. Despite decades of research and advances in technology, much of the deepest place on Earth remains completely unknown. Every expedition answers one question while raising several more. One of the biggest challenges is simply reaching the bottom. Descending nearly 7 miles into the ocean is one of the most demanding engineering achievements ever attempted. Every component of a deep-sea submersible must withstand crushing pressure without failing. Even a small weakness in the hull could have catastrophic consequences. Unlike space missions, where communication with astronauts is relatively straightforward, communication with deep-sea vehicles is extremely limited. Radio waves cannot travel effectively through seawater, forcing scientists to rely on acoustic signals that are much slower and less reliable. Every dive requires careful planning, patience, and precision. Because of these challenges, robotic vehicles have become some of the most valuable tools for exploring the trench. Equipped with powerful cameras, robotic arms, and advanced scientific instruments, these machines can remain underwater for long periods, collecting samples and mapping areas that humans have never seen. High-resolution sonar has transformed our understanding of the trench. Instead of a simple V-shaped crack, scientists now see an incredibly detailed landscape filled with cliffs, valleys, ridges, and massive rock formations. Some underwater walls rise thousands of feet above the trench floor, creating habitats that vary dramatically over relatively short distances. These differences in terrain help explain why such a wide variety of organisms can survive there. Some species live buried within the soft sediment, while others cling to rocky slopes or gather around areas where mineral-rich fluids emerge from beneath the Earth's crust. Researchers have also discovered that organic matter does not fall evenly across the trench. Ocean currents channel nutrients into certain regions, creating small pockets where life becomes surprisingly abundant. These isolated ecosystems resemble underwater islands separated by vast stretches of darkness. Every sample brought back to the surface reveals another piece of this hidden world. Scientists routinely analyze water, mud, rocks, and living organisms collected from the trench. Using modern genetic sequencing, they often discover DNA unlike anything previously recorded. In some cases, entirely new species are identified from only a few tiny specimens. These findings are changing how biologists estimate Earth's biodiversity. If so many unknown organisms exist in one of the least explored places on our planet, there may be countless more waiting in other deep ocean trenches around the world. The Mariana Trench is also helping researchers understand Earth's climate. The deep ocean acts as one of the planet's largest storage systems for carbon. Organic material sinking from the surface carries carbon to the seafloor, where some of it becomes trapped in sediments for thousands or even millions of years. Understanding this natural process helps scientists improve climate models and better predict long-term environmental changes. Another surprising discovery involves sound. Although the trench appears silent, sensitive instruments detect a wide variety of underwater noises. Earthquakes generate low-frequency vibrations. Distant whale calls travel remarkable distances through the ocean. Even storms occurring hundreds of miles away can produce sounds that reach the deepest parts of the Pacific. Human activity is present as well. Ship engines, industrial operations, and sonar systems contribute to underwater noise pollution that can travel far beyond its source. Scientists continue studying how these sounds affect marine life living in deep water environments. One question that fascinates researchers is whether larger, undiscovered animals still inhabit the trench. Stories of giant sea monsters have circulated for centuries, often fueled by the mystery surrounding the deep ocean. However, extensive scientific expeditions have found no evidence of enormous unknown predators living at Challenger Deep. The limited food supply makes it difficult for massive animals to survive in such an extreme environment. Instead, evolution has favored efficiency rather than size. Many trench organisms grow slowly, conserve energy, and make the most of every available food source. It is a reminder that nature often follows practical solutions rather than dramatic ones. Perhaps even more astonishing is the resilience of life itself. The organisms living here endure crushing pressure every second of their existence. Their proteins, cell membranes, and internal chemistry have evolved to function perfectly under conditions that would destroy most forms of life. Scientists hope these biological adaptations may one day inspire advances in medicine, engineering, and biotechnology. Some researchers believe the next great discoveries may not involve large animals at all, but microscopic organisms. Invisible to the naked eye, these microbes could possess entirely new biochemical processes with applications that scientists have only begun to imagine. Meanwhile, international teams continue planning increasingly ambitious expeditions. Improved autonomous vehicles, artificial intelligence, and next-generation mapping systems promise to reveal even more of this hidden world over the coming decades. Yet every mission reinforces the same extraordinary truth. The Mariana Trench is not simply the deepest place on Earth. It is one of the last great frontiers of exploration. While satellites have mapped distant planets, and telescopes have photographed galaxies billions of light-years away, vast regions beneath our own oceans remain unexplored. That realization changes the way we think about discovery. The greatest mysteries are not always found in outer space. Sometimes they exist beneath our feet, hidden under miles of seawater, waiting for someone to look just a little deeper. And as scientists continue pushing the limits of exploration, one final question remains. What if the greatest discovery in the Mariana Trench has not been made yet? The more scientists explore the Mariana Trench, the more they realize that it represents something much greater than a single location on a map. It is a reminder of how much of our own planet remains unexplored. Even in the 21st century, with satellites orbiting Earth and spacecraft traveling across the solar system, we still know remarkably little about the deepest parts of our own oceans. Every expedition to Challenger Deep expands our understanding of life, geology, chemistry, and the history of Earth itself. Each new discovery proves that nature is capable of adapting to conditions once thought impossible. Creatures living under crushing pressure in freezing temperatures and complete darkness continue to challenge long-held scientific assumptions. The Mariana Trench has also changed the way scientists search for life beyond Earth. For many years, researchers believed that sunlight was essential for complex ecosystems to exist. But the organisms living in the deepest ocean have demonstrated that life can survive using entirely different sources of energy. That realization has encouraged scientists to investigate icy moons, such as Europa and Enceladus, where vast oceans may exist beneath frozen surfaces. If life can thrive nearly 7 miles beneath Earth's oceans, hidden from sunlight for millions of years, then perhaps similar environments elsewhere in the universe could also support living organisms. In that sense, every dive into the Mariana Trench is not only an exploration of Earth, but also preparation for exploring distant worlds. Yet alongside these exciting discoveries comes an important warning. Finding plastic pollution and other human-made waste at the deepest point on the planet reminds us that no place is truly isolated from our actions. Even locations that seem impossibly remote are connected through the global ocean. Scientists continue studying the long-term effects of pollution on deep-sea ecosystems because many of these organisms grow slowly and reproduce over long periods. Damage caused today could take generations to recover, if recovery is possible at all. Protecting the ocean is not simply about preserving beautiful beaches or coral reefs. It also means safeguarding environments that most people will never see, but that play important roles in the health of our planet. The deep ocean influences global climate, stores enormous amounts of carbon, supports unique ecosystems, and helps scientists answer some of humanity's biggest questions. Despite decades of exploration, researchers estimate that much of the deep ocean remains unmapped in high detail. Entire underwater mountains, valleys, and ecosystems are still waiting to be discovered. Every year, new technologies allow scientists to reach places that were once completely inaccessible. Autonomous underwater vehicles are becoming smarter and capable of operating independently for extended periods. Improved sensors can detect tiny chemical changes in the water. Artificial intelligence is helping researchers analyze enormous amounts of data collected during every expedition. These advances mean that the coming decades may reveal discoveries far more surprising than anything found so far. Perhaps scientists will identify thousands of new species. Perhaps they will uncover entirely new biological processes. Perhaps they will discover geological activity that changes our understanding of how the Earth functions. Or perhaps the greatest discovery will simply be realizing how much there is still left to learn. History has repeatedly shown that exploration often begins with curiosity rather than certainty. When the first researchers lowered ropes into the Pacific Ocean more than a century ago, they never imagined they were measuring the deepest place on Earth. When the first explorers descended to Challenger Deep in 1960, they expected a barren landscape but instead found evidence of life. Modern expeditions have continued that tradition, replacing old assumptions with remarkable discoveries. The Mariana Trench reminds us that science is never truly finished. Every answer opens the door to another mystery. It also reminds us that some of the greatest adventures do not require traveling to another planet. They can happen right here on Earth, beneath miles of water in places where no sunlight has ever reached. Standing on the shore, it is almost impossible to imagine that such a world exists below the waves. An environment of crushing pressure, freezing temperatures, strange creatures, hidden mountains, and unexplored valleys, all concealed beneath the surface of the Pacific Ocean. It is a world that has existed for millions of years, almost completely untouched by human eyes. Although only a handful of people have reached its deepest point, every expedition has expanded humanity's understanding of our planet. The Mariana Trench has become one of the greatest natural laboratories on Earth, revealing how life survives under extreme conditions, how our planet continues to evolve, and how much remains unknown. The deepest place on Earth is no longer just a point on a map. It is a symbol of discovery, a reminder that curiosity continues to drive science forward, a reminder that our own planet still holds extraordinary secrets. And perhaps the most incredible truth of all is this: even after everything scientists have found in the Mariana Trench, they believe the greatest discoveries may still be waiting in the darkness below. If you enjoyed exploring one of Earth's greatest mysteries, make sure to subscribe, because there are many more incredible discoveries from our planet and beyond that are waiting to be uncovered. Until next time, keep asking questions, keep exploring, and never stop being curious.